after I started growing up, I ended up joining the military at an early age. I was in active duty for 6 years. While I was in, I discovered two skills that paid off for me pretty well while I was in the military. And one of them was aggression. Because when you're around a bunch of guys in the military, having some aggression is actually puts you in a pretty good situation, getting around with all these other aggressive guys. The other thing was my booming voice. My voice that I learned was so powerful that when we were marching on long marches, the drill sergeants in basic training would actually tell me to bring it down. And they would yell at everyone else, sound off, bring it up. We'd be marching around, and we'd rotate, and they'd say, Ridge, get out here, lead the troop. Give me your left, right, left. Give me your left, right, left. Out left, out left, out left, right, left. That was a skill. After the military, I would follow my dad's footsteps into the world of construction. And after several years of digging ditches, building foundations and houses, I would find my new career, which is building communication antenna towers. I learned very quickly, became an antenna and line foreman, and then soon after that became a tower erection foreman. My booming voice and skills of aggression paid off. Imagine having to call up several hundred feet and give commands from the ground. Bring it down! Keep it coming! That's good! Now all of these incredible skills became poison to me when it was time for me to make a transition from the blue-collar work environment into the white-collar. Because I was hired into T-Mobile as a manager. Imagine me walking around the office telling people, you need to check those emails! You only get 3 bathroom breaks. Better tighten up that desk, son. Wouldn't last too long, right? It really did cause a lot of problems for me. And I knew that that's the direction I wanted to go. I wanted to go in the white collar, and I didn't want to follow my dad's footsteps and continue manual labor the rest of my life. My manager at the time, Bryce Walker, after several altercations with my team, he pulled me out back and said, John, you need to be a manager. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I need to be a manager. My business card says manager. My email thing says manager. Corporate thing says manager. Everything says manager. I can't believe this guy. He's telling me to be a manager, right? After a couple more times, he switched. He said, John, you need to practice leadership skills. And I'm like, oh God, here we go again. But the last time he told me, he goes, I think you're coming close to the end of the road. You really need to do some changes. I don't know if you're going to make it much longer. I was scared and almost petrified. I knew that I had to make some drastic changes. I had managed to survive in T-Mobile, slowly getting promoted for 6 years at this time. But the farther I went up, the more risk that I knew I had working with people. Didn't understand anything about leadership. mean by that? I'm like, oh man, I am so burnt out on leadership. I took a lot of leadership classes during some of these periods, and I participated and did everything I possibly could to understand it, and I failed and failed and failed. And I go, okay, all right, I'm going to give this one a shot. I sat in there with expectations about this big. I'm sitting in there, and after about 15 minutes, I'm about bored out of my mind. I was thinking about just leaving and walking out of the room. And then I saw this slide turn on the big screen. The 4 root elements of leadership. 4 root elements of leadership. What's that? The next slide turn. Root element number 1. A group. A group of people. I'm thinking, oh my God, duh. I didn't have any leadership without a group of people. Next slide turn. Second root element of leadership. Movement. And Robert goes on to explain, you have a group and now they need to move. They need to move in a certain direction, or at least do some type of activity. Third slide turns. Direction. He explains the direction